Welcome back to Q-Dads, guys. It's me, Ben, and you're here for the final instalment of our Foundation rewatch before we head over to Season 3 on the 11th of July, blasting you with all of our theories and thoughts about the show. And obviously, at the end of this, I will be giving you some of my final predictions just to see the direction we're heading in. Now, I've been bringing you this whole rewatch, as well as some of the journeys into the pivotal characters throughout the season, like the Cleons, Demoiselle, and Harry. But as we dive into Season 3, we'll also see the return of Steve, our other Q-Dad, as we both work together to give you some of the really in-depth deep dives that you want and amazing theories around Season 3. So of course, before we do that, we've got one more episode to finish off. So thank you from me, guys, for sticking with me on this journey. It's been incredible to have some of our regular viewers join me throughout this whole rewatch, sharing your thoughts and your opinions and what you thought second time round. So this episode, of course, follows three different storylines. The first that I want to touch on is Harry and Gale. So obviously we learned that all of the mental madness that has been happening with Tell and Bond over the past couple episodes, actually Harry and Gale have been mentally synchronised as they escape the water and some of the other people around them, bringing them all nicely back to the beggar and putting the plans in motion to escape and defeat Tell and Bond. Which, even thinking about it now, the past couple episodes, I've been bamboozled and how they're kind of doing it, and I just completely forgot that they were in sync. But of course, it gives me some of the questions of how they're in sync, and actually, do you know what? It's a complex storyline. I'm not going to make this any more complicated than it needs to be. It hurts my head. It was complex, it's come to an end, I enjoyed it. But of course, what happens is the whole of Ignis and the Mentalics are now free and able to continue their lives on the planet without the worry of Tell and Bond. But of course, later on in the episode, we get Josiah, the little boy, who is controlled by the remnants of Tellem, trying to shoot Gale and put an end to the overall plan. And I must say that I forgot completely about this scene, and watching Sal dive in front of that bullet and getting shot blew my mind. But of course, this changes everything. She's then burned in a ceremony later on, but this does ultimately mean that Gale can reshape the future that she saw with the mule, and actually there's a chance for the Foundation to survive. And then of course at the end of the episode we have Harry and Gale using both of the cryopods from the beggar to put their plan into motion to sleep until the mule comes out, and periodically waking themselves up every now and then to ensure that the Mentalics are fully trained for war. We're talking about the beggar for a second, being stranded on this planet. Now, is there some kind of beacon or tracker to allow Hugo to get back into the scene and Season 3? And yes, the last time we left him, he was on Terminus, and Sal has skipped forward in time, and we didn't really know what happened to him and where he was. Is he still out there? I like to think so. But obviously, we had him in the first season. We had Hobermello in Season 2 bringing that kind of quirky comedy, character in mind. So it would be nice to bring him back again for Season 3, or have someone very similar to that personality. Now, then we have the story of the Cleons. So in the final episode, essentially we get Dusk and Rue trapped by Demoiselle as they then are killed. But not before Dusk manages to plant a green thumbprint on Demoiselle's neck, giving Dawn a fighting chance to escape with Sereth. And it turns out, of course, that Demoiselle did hire the Blind Angels because of her love for Cleon and to keep the dynasty alive. Now, later on in the episode, where Dawn and Sereth use facial technology to make the communication out to the galaxy, but of course, a false one at that, because it's actually their servants, and they are secretly heading out from Trantor on a ship to an unknown location, with now a child in hand. Now, I fully believe that this child, or a grown-up version of Dawn, we will see in Season 3 as the Bearded Day. But I don't fully trust Sereth in this moment, and I don't believe that she was pregnant. Now, I'm not quite sure why, but I just have that feeling. And I think that ultimately she will die, and then spurs Dawn on a solo journey throughout Season 3 as he grows up, skips forward in time and ultimately tries to avoid Demoiselle due to her programming. And then of course we get to see Day, who has just destroyed Terminus, and he's really happy about it. But then he tries to jump ship, and the Spacers and Hober turned out that their plan was right all along, and they actually begin to enforce all of their jump ships to jump on each other's locations, and in a moment of synchronicity destroy all of them. Now again, another great clip here with Day and Hober Mello, which was just so comical.
How about this? Is this predictable? The frog's arse watertight.
And this is where Day and Bell fight in an amazing scene. And of course, this is where we get to see that great trickery from the quantum entanglement bracelets, which then leads Day to pushing himself, technically, out of the airlock and floating down to the ruins of Terminus, and then dies in the vast cold emptiness of space. Again, an amazing scene to see. And this leads Hober to say his goodbyes to Constant before finishing off a lovely bottle of corked wine with Bel Rios, as the ships all explode in a nice harmonious scene. And then this does leave Constant drifting off into space before she's ultimately picked up by Foundation and the vault itself, which now has everyone from Terminus inside, including Glawen. Now, where will this Foundation and vault go? Will they head to Ignis and join the others as the second Foundation? Or will it go back to another destination, potentially Helicon? Or, if you've touched on some of my other theories about Earth being a safe haven, potentially there. But of course, this episode ends really with Demoiselle decanting another 3 versions of Cleon, which she's never done before at the same time. But now with the new information that she has from the Prime Radiant, she can almost understand anything that's going to happen. Now, there are a few things that I want to talk about for Season 3 and a few theories that I have. So the first theory is around Demoiselle and the fact that she now has the Prime Radiant. We've seen people alter the course of history before, similar to how Sal went back to Vault Harry and told them that they need to get Hober Mallow. So, is Demoiselle going to use this Prime Radiant to travel back to almost pretend to be a version of Calais and have that conversation with Harry about the version of psychohistory and put everything into the series of events that we now know? And of course, we then get Sal and Gale. Now, Sal, of course, is dead and Gale is very much alive. And that's really curious to me, the fact that she's now been narrating the past 2 seasons and will continue to narrate the 3rd. But who is she talking to? Who is she having that conversation with about her story? I do believe that it is an actual character rather than us as the viewer. Is she talking to someone like the Mule, or is it a group of Mentalics? Or even going past that, is it her child that she's passing all this information to? And Harry is ultimately alive in the vault and alive on Ignis at the moment. 2 versions of him, one digital and one a clone. Will there be a 3rd? Or will there be more, especially touching on the quantum mechanics that we've seen in this season? How many Harrys will we have and how far will his plan go? And yes, I touched on at the start about Dawn and Day being the same in Season 3. So the bearded version of Day that we see in the trailer, I believe, is the Dawn that escaped with Sereth in this episode and has grew up. We know that there's ability to jump through time, and there's that sleeper technology that allows people to go into some sort of cryosleep. Hugo, for example, was 70 years old. Could Dawn have used this technology and over a certain period of time grown up? And now he's on the run from Demoiselle's rogue programming. And of course, that's it, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this rewatch with me. Obviously, they're on the channel, so if you haven't seen all of them, please do go check them out before Season 3 starts on July the 11th. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on this journey with us, guys. I've really enjoyed it. But yes, I'm looking forward to bringing you all with me on the journey for Season 3. So please do hit that subscribe button. And as I mentioned a moment ago, Steve will be joining us, because sometimes we do have contradicting theories with each other, and it's nice to get that across to you guys. So hit that subscribe button. Please do engage with us on the comments, because we love reading them and replying to you and building that bit of a community with us. So as always, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you next time with something new.